You know what your problem is, Habibi? You're disorientated because the guys we're killing are dressed in expensive suits, and this is London and not some ugly Arab village.
I'm not disoriented. I'm keeping my sanity by occasionally reminding myself that in spite of it, I'm still, at least in principle, a human being.
Same old scrap of desert. It's just we brought our war to Copenhagen and Kensington, and it's not like these European anti-Semites don't deserve that. Unless we learn to act like them, we will never defeat them.
We act like them all the time. But do you think the Palestinians invented bloodshed? How do you think we got control of the land? By being nice?
Somebody pulled down this man's pants to see if he's circumcised. I think we have a double agent in our midst.
Don't you dare expose me on that! Stop it! My son died at 67, you foul-mouthed son of a bitch! Everything you can ask I've done for Israel.
Ask for a reassignment, if this is so distasteful.
Why, it's not distasteful to you.
No. Because the only blood that matters to me is Jewish blood. Nice job, eh? Nice job leading.
If the bodyguards are armed, we kill them.
They're armed.
Well, then we kill them!
Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be another movie review for films that I deem 10 out of 10, and in this edition we will focus on the terrorist revenge masterpiece Munich. Released in December the 23rd, 2005, it stars Eric Bana, Ciara Hinds, Daniel Craig, Geoffrey Rush, and it was also directed by the great Steven Spielberg. Now the story of Munich is that it centers around the harrowing true-life event within the 1972 Summer Olympics staged within Munich, where 11 Israel athletes were taken and killed by Palestinian terrorists who were part of the Black September group. Seeking retribution for the event, the Israeli government chose agent Avner Kaufman to assign a team to take out the 11 targets who they believe were responsible for the Munich attacks. Avner and his team eliminate targets as instructed, but steadily find themselves questioning their actions and the real merit within their mission. Each time they take out a target, it has ramifications all over the world. They encounter several other organisations and rogue individuals, and they lose sight of who is an ally and who is an enemy. Eventually they don't know who to trust and find themselves suddenly being hunted down. To simply put it, Munich is a magnificent film operating on so many different levels, taking on many complex themes, which is what I always hold to standard for any great movie overall. It's a movie that primarily works on 3 levels. The first and most important is that it's a powerful commentary on terrorism and a real cause and effect. It doesn't come from one random source, it comes from all sides, all places, all territories. And all of these territories have different motivations in terms of committing acts of terrorism. Terrorism is something that has built up over decades, centering around lots of ideology and history. All of these themes provide difficult and provocative debates, and Spielberg doesn't provide any easy answers. There's no clear bad guy or villain. The targets we see are for the most part anonymous characters because Spielberg doesn't want that to cloud any perspective by creating more typical villains throughout the story. The second level of Munich is that it's very much of a morality tale. As we see Avner's team carry out their assignment, we have constant questions over what is just, what is revenge, what is retribution. Every action has a consequence, and how do we cope with that scenario? We see the characters constantly asking these questions as they see the news reports where the individuals that they've taken out are simply replaced with far more nefarious characters. And seeing their overall reactions and viewpoints is crucial in keeping you invested throughout the movie. And Spielberg shows his overall conflicts within the characters in far more quiet, intimate moments. Now the third level of Munich, and what makes it so great, is the constant escalation of tension, suspense and paranoia. Each assassination attempt is a skillfully set, orchestrated set piece. We have some outstanding scenes, including one bombing that has to be aborted all of a sudden when a child is in danger. We have an intense and quite startling bombing within a hotel, really graphic in terms of the overall violence and intensity. We have another great scene that involves the team working with the Israel army when they raid a certain building, taking out certain targets. And all of these scenes are very much difficult to watch at times, more because of the nature of the violence. Spielberg adopts a far more visual, real-time staging of the action, so when the violence happens, it carries far more impact. I love all of the main characters and how they're represented, and Munich has a full host of great compelling performances. Eric Bana in the lead role as Avner is a superb performance of a conflicted individual. In the beginning, he very much adopts his assignment in very much of a business-like manner, but over the course of the story we see him far more tormented in the overall ordeal and undertaking of his assignment. This is shown very much in the multitude of flashbacks of the actual Munich event itself that we see through the eyes of Avner, in what was very much of a strange choice by Spielberg, because Avner wasn't there, so how could he recollect so vividly what went on within the Munich attacks? But over the course of the movie, this is a method that actually works, and again, it keeps you engaged. Throughout the film, Avner becomes far more paranoid and scared, and Bana conveys all of those emotions very convincingly. It's perhaps the best performance of his career, and it definitely deserved at least an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. Ciara Hinds is very good as Carl, and he's far more of the observer, very much more of the cleanup guy. He's very much dressed as a cosmopolitan. You would never assume that somebody like Carl would be part of an assassination group. Daniel Craig, coming off his casting as James Bond, is very much more the typical bravado assassin. He just wants to shoot the targets rather than setting up explosions and planning methodically. I also liked Mateo Kozovic playing the character of Robert, who was essentially the bomb maker, and he's very much more the conscious of the group. He's far more nervous, and he has a truly great scene with Avner 2/3 of the way through the film, where he really outlines the sense of what the assassins are doing and whether it's right, and are they losing sense of themselves, are they becoming more like animals. And it's such a crucial scene. And when we look at these characters overall, they're not indeed your super skilled hitmen. They're very much scared themselves, uncoordinated at times, and I think this was a deliberate choice by Spielberg to add far more tension and really instill much more of a humanity to the overall story. I also liked Geoffrey Rush's performance as the main superior that Avner has to answer to, and he adds a lot of the humour and charisma throughout the film as well. We yet again have to talk about John Williams' music, still today the greatest movie composer of all time. I love all of the music that he adds, particularly when we come to the assassination attempts. It builds up so much tension and atmosphere. We have those typical stomping beats as we see the group plan how they're going to take out the targets, really pulls you into the movie. I also love the more solemn and somber melodic themes that plays throughout the character interactions. One scene in particular where we see them having dinner for the first time and their overall conversations. We also have to talk about the stunning musical score that plays as we see the Munich flashback attack played out in its full, which is one of the truly standout sequences throughout the whole movie. In many ways, it's much more of a climatic closure to the film, and the song, along with the vocals, has this truly haunting effect. So yet again, an accomplished musical score from John Williams, who, as we all know, is a long-time collaborator with Steven Spielberg. So when we go on to the overall release of Munich, and on a budget of 70 million, it sadly only managed to gross 131 million worldwide. So of course this was a financial underperformance in consideration of Spielberg, who in many ways for so long, especially during the mid-70s and 80s, defined the blockbuster era of mainstream cinema. During that time providing many of the highest box office grossing movies of all time. But Munich was very much of a continuation in the shift of his filmmaking into far more of that serious, darker, complex material, and this really started of course with the likes of Schindler's List and continued later on with Saving Private Ryan and Amistad. But because Munich was very much centering around the origins of terrorism, that subject matter wasn't as appealing to mainstream audiences. And because of the subject matter, it proved very divisive in its interpretation of the certain philosophies depicted by various demographics, particularly concerning both the Israeli and Palestinian characters. But despite that, Munich still remains very much of an underrated masterpiece amongst Spielberg's work, and for me it's perhaps the last truly great masterpiece currently of Steven Spielberg's career, certainly within the last 15 years or so, where he's had very much of a mixed record in terms of output. Around this period, when we look at the likes of The Terminal, Artificial Intelligence, Bridge of Spies, Warhorse, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, this is very much of a period where the world's greatest filmmaker was really struggling in many ways to find some sort of consistency, as he was trying to branch out from the typical popcorn entertainment that really defined his iconic status within the movie industry. But Munich remains one of those films that I love so much because it has a real point, it has a real purpose and message, and still remains a powerful statement on the causes of terrorism, perhaps showing some uncomfortable truths that many people aren't willing to talk about or accept. This is defined non more so than the film's ending. It's so difficult to deny the overall message shown in the final scene, so impactful, so important, and still relevant today when we look at the post events, particularly of 9/11 and how the world is built since those traumatic events. And Munich is a film, when you look at overall the various themes that it covers, has so much to say, and it's something that we should still pay much attention to, and it's for that reason alone that I deem it to be a 10 out of 10 film. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings and review on Munich. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you feel it compares to Steven Spielberg's films, certainly within the last 10 to 15 years? Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think it's underrated, or did you have problems with the film's length and certainly in terms of its overall messaging? Do you think it's one of the strongest entries or one of the weakest entries within Steven Spielberg's career? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any other films that you'd like to see me review, let me know, and if I've seen the films I will provide a commentary on those as well. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.